interwebs, welcome to Let's Fix Computers. We got a MacBook Pro that was a casualty of some election celebration. It's had champagne dumped all over it. So let's take a look at this fella and see why it ain't working anymore. So you can see where it's been wiped down. We've got a broken key here. However, I've had a quick look at that. That will be fixable, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Obviously, some snap keys on the keyboard are the least of our concern right now. So let's just do a quick visual inspection on the bottom. This thing came in with no screws in it, so they probably had a look to try and dry it out themselves. On the bottom of the thing, you can clearly see all the staining on that there. So there's a little bit of dampness where this thing is still fairly fresh, so to speak. On the battery, you can see we've got some liquid, visible liquid there. Everything here is sticky or damp. There's no really horrifying signs of liquid on the main logic board, but I would imagine we're probably going to find some stuff on the other side of it. So let's start taking this thing apart and seeing what state we're in and where we need to do the most repairs. Alright, so yeah, there's been liquid underneath the battery. Liquid sensor down there has gone bright red, so obviously there was probably a lot of liquid in and around the trackpad. And there's a little bit of wetness down there as well, and there's some clear puddles down in this section. So I think we're definitely going to find liquid damage on the other side of the logic board. Let me just see if I can angle that so you can see it. Not quite. Just in that corner, you can just about see it in the reflection there. So we'll just run this towel around the edges while we're going, just so we can make sure that we don't let the liquid spill anywhere else and do even more damage. Right, so let's start out by plugging in a charger and seeing what it does, just so we can get a baseline. Alright, we have a green light. I'm kind of curious as to if this is going to turn on. I think we're going to try and turn it on. There's usually very little risk in turning it on at this point, just to see what happens. The customer will have already tried to do it anyway. No, it's not responding to the power button at all. It's not even trying to turn on. So, okay, well we have a green light. That's a good start. So let's take the logic board out and we'll carry on seeing what kind of damage we've got on the other side of that. Alright, we've got some fairly heavy looking liquid damage around the display connector here. That is going to be a problem. The customer did mention that there was some flickering when it briefly, but just as it was dying. So that'll be their backlight shorting to ground. There we go. So you can see that big fat blob of corrosion there. That'll be where the backlight circuit is shorted out. So we'll have to investigate to see exactly how much damage has been done there. It may have just blown up the backlight circuit, it may just be the fuse, it may have blown up the screen as well. So we'll have to just keep digging to see how much work this is going to need at that point. This is, of course, an aging model, so there is always the question on, is it actually going to be worth fixing? So we'll just carry on doing our diagnostics here, or our post-mortems as it were, and we'll see how much is actually going to need to get fixed. Right, T6 around all these screws. Alright, so there's no actual dampness on the other side of the logic board. That's a good sign. So where are we looking? So this is all display connector corner. So we've got some signs of damage around here. Other than that, there's nothing jumping out at me. let's move the body out of the way and we'll take a closer look and see what we're up against here. Okay, that's interesting. So far it looks like the connector itself is not shorted to ground, which is very surprising considering it's got a big old burn mark on it. Let's just quickly clean that up with a little bit of alcohol, just in case I'm getting poor contact there. Right, so there's our ground pin. Beep. And let's just quickly tread along these pins and just check where the grounds are. Right, well, all of those are all fine. That one we just hit, that's probably a ground anyway. So at this point, let's open up a schematic and just check where the first ground points are supposed to be. So this is an 8202523B. Okay, there's our display connector. And our backlight's going to be down here somewhere, so that's going to be in the high ones. Alright, so the LCD backlight lines are 38, 39 and 40. So let's just triple check those to be absolutely certain. And then the next ground, then it's all LED returns and stuff, and then 28 there, that's our next ground. So that kind of tallies with what we were seeing here. All of those fellas, none of them are shorted to ground until we get to there, which is at the ground anyway. And then 28 up there, there's our ground. And then there's another ground every 2 pins up from there. So that's also expected. Okay, so far so good. Green light. And pressing the power button on the keyboard. And we got fan spin again. Okay, so the reason why it didn't turn on is because the keyboard's goosed. So we definitely need a new keyboard. So at this point, I need to get a display connected up to this so I can find out if the display is shorted to ground. So let's do that. So we're going to drop this back into the body of the laptop, and then we can plug the display back in and check for a short to ground again. Alright, so that connector's, it does not look healthy. Let's give that a quick clean and we'll just see how much of this is salvageable. Ground test. There's our ground. There's the first ground pin. And backlight pins. RIP. Yeah, the backlight is shorted to ground. Let's pop that back out again. And let's check again. And the short is gone. Alright, so our display is shorted to ground. Yeah, no, the end of that connector is fucked. Okay, we need a new display in this thing. Right, so we need a new display and a new keyboard. However, since there's no short to ground at the backlight circuit, the chances are that the backlight circuit works. So, do I have any displays for this thing? I do! Alright, I've dug out another testing screen with a separate cable, and I've plugged that in and cleaned up all the connectors, and the short seems to have gone. So if I scrape around down there, there's nothing down there. Then if I move up to where the ground is, we've got the ground pins up there, and we've got a ground pin there. But backlight, that is all fine. That's all A-okay. So, I think we can put some power on that and see if we get any kind of post. So let's grab a charger. Let's jury rig this in place. There's our green light. And let's plug in a keyboard so we can turn it on. And power on. Fan spin. Fan's on high speed. The display has initialized, but I don't have a picture. Just wait to see if we get a question mark folder on that. Yeah, there's our question mark folder. Alright, so it's alive, but we've got no backlight. So let's get the tester and just see if we have any backlight voltage at all, because that will give us a clue as to what kind of issue we have here. Yep, 38, 39 and 40 are all backlight, so I should just be able to hit any one of those N3 pins and see backlight voltage. Make sure I've got a good connection there. No, so we've got 0 to the backlight. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to find out if there's power getting anywhere. Alright, so here is the backlight power circuit. So this is a DC boost circuit, and on the right hand side here, PPV out SO LCD backlight, that is the main power rail that goes to the backlight. So we've got 0 volts on output here. Now, because this is a boost circuit, there's low voltage coming in over here, and that has a straight line all the way through to the output. Now, because we have absolutely 0 volts to output and there's no short, I know that therefore there's no power coming in over here. So what I'm going to do in that case is, if I switch over to the board view, I'm going to jump straight down to F9800 here. This is our backlight fuse. So this has got PP bus SO backlight fused and PP bus G3 hot on the other side. So this is the main input fuse. If we follow this backwards, we'll get back to F9800. So let's just check if our backlight fuse is blown. So I'm going to check if there's voltage on both sides of that. So let's lean in and take a look. Alright, there's nothing on one side of it. Whoops. Ha, that's fun. That fuse appears to be dead on both sides. Have I just got a shitty ground here? PP bus G3 hot is there. Okay, let's stick in a new fuse. Well, that broke up spectacularly. We'll quickly clean that site up. Okay, let's see if we've got some backlight power. Way! We have a backlight. Beautiful. Alright, so that's our backlight restored. So we have posts, we have backlight. I think we can reassemble this now. Let's put it back together. Oh yeah, we still need to deal with the fact that the main internal panel is shorted to ground. So what we'll do, we'll reassemble the laptop. I'm going to double check that that short to ground on the laptop's own LCD is still there. On the assumption that it is, we'll then take off the display assembly and we'll replace the panel in it. Okay, and with the laptop's own screen plugged in, we are shorted to ground again. So yeah, that screen's got to come off. Okay, right, unfortunately the customer has declined my quote to repair this laptop, which means we won't be going any further with it. We've had to put in the time to discover what was wrong with it and what needed to be done. However, there was no way I was going to take apart that display assembly without knowing in advance whether I was going to get paid or not. So the customer has decided they're going to buy a new laptop because this one's getting kind of old and it hasn't got an SSD in it. So it's a shame really, because it was fixable. The short to ground was either going to be in the display cable or in the LCD, both of which are replaceable, both of which we could have replaced. So we did find out what was wrong with it, but we're not getting paid to fix it, so it's going out unfixed. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I will see you next time.